a question that a lot of martial artists face, and a lot of martial artists are asked and ask themselves is which style is the best. And for me, I think it's a fair question. It can also be a confusing one in that the style, I think, is always a reflection of the person who does it. I've had many friends over the years who have done different martial arts: karate, taekwondo, judo, aikido, krav maga, sistema, and a range of other martial arts, who at certain times have questioned their own practice. I know I certainly have. What tends to happen is that we look for answers in a very surface way, I find. I tend to look for things that, I guess, kind of benchmarks in regards to what is the best style. I don't believe there is a best style. I believe there's some great practitioners. And I think it's really dependent upon your own personal practice and your own personal approach and the way in which you define the best. When I see someone of advanced years, and for me, I'm 45, so in advanced years, I'm talking, anywhere up of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever it is, or even younger, who is still practicing and still going to the dojo every day, or still at home or out and able to get under a tree at 5 o'clock in the morning and practice their tai chi or their kata or their breathing. To me, that's a definition of success. Now, if I was 20 years younger, my definition of success would probably be a lot different. I was very much into competitions, in particular full contact. I was a fan and also an avid competition competitor. Now, did I win a great deal? I probably lost a lot more than I won. But my idea of success was probably based around getting trophies, winning titles, getting accolades and being famous. Now, for me also, when I used to fight, I used to try and find the most interesting ways to win. In that, my pride will often tell me, if you're going to win, do it doing a spinning heel hook kick, backflip, one-handed cartwheel technique. That's how I used to like to try and win. So for me, winning was almost secondary to looking good doing it. If we remove that, some people also talk about combat effectiveness as an indication of which martial art is the best. And I think that, again, for me, and this is just my opinion, that it falls to the person who practices the martial art and how hard they practice. Some people, especially with the advent of MMA, and I believe MMA is kind of an old concept, but particularly UFC and all those sort of events, where people are talking in terms of ranges, our ground game, our striking game, he's a striker, he's a grappler, all of those kinds of things. Those things are not new. Again, I think it's like saying who would win out of Mike Tyson and the late, great Muhammad Ali. For me, I guess that it's kind of an academic exercise. It all depends on what you term as being the best, as being the best result. For me in my training, if I can get up in the morning and I can move through my kata and do some makiwara and then go about my day injury-free, and that what I gain from doing those breathing exercises and how I feel about myself, getting up early and motivating me to get up early, and that brings to the rest of my day is what I would term as being a success. But that's just me. For you, your martial art yardstick of what is the best may be completely different. But for me, I suppose anything which strengthens and guides my body. When I was younger, I was a terrible instructor. I remember my first sessions that my goal was to make everyone in the class vomit, to do so many repetitions, to run up hills. I was a terrible instructor, and that was really because I was young and very much in love with myself and very much in love with my huge ego. So again, that was what I used to define myself. So that was really about what was missing in me as opposed to what was missing in the martial art. One of my sensei actually took me aside and says, one of the things you've got to learn, bro, is that not everyone does martial arts for the same reasons that you do. And I really believe that. I think it's really easy to get into a space of being judgmental for me, for me to go, oh, that's not an effective, or they do too much tournament, or there's not enough contact, or there's too much contact. A whole range of different things. You know the arguments if you're a practitioner. For me, the victory is in training every day, enjoying your training, and hopefully improving the things which are most important. Our family, our job, our life, and our ability to interact with other people. Our ability to bring positivity into our everyday life, because that's the kihon, that's the basic, and that's what we all need to work on, especially me.